Who are you and what do you drive?
My name is Dustin. I am the marketing manager here at Custom Offsets, and I drive this beautiful 2007 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD Classic. This is a really great question. So why in 2021 would I want to buy a 14-year-old 200,000 plus mile dated Duramax truck? So I grew up in a really small town. We're talking like 450 people small town. It was tiny. I think we had 2 churches, 2 bars, 2 gas stations, and 1 family restaurant, which was attached to one of the bars. So pretty small town. But you know, growing up in a small community like that, we were very rural, very farm-based, and so my granddad was a dairy farmer. I spent pretty much my whole life on the farm up till I moved up to college. So for me, it was a lot of being a young kid. I was 13 when this truck would have came out, 13, 14, somewhere in there. I remember the first time I saw a Cat Eye Silverado, and I was absolutely enamored. I thought it was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I love the design. I love the way the headlights pull back kind of in the corners. And I told myself at a really young age, I said, someday I'll own one of those, you know? And I went through high school and into college and stuff, and I had a 6-liter Power Stroke for a little while, and I had some other trucks, and I had a couple of cars. And the Cat Eye Silverado was always just kind of there. You know, it was always kind of that one that I still wanted, and it just stuck out to me as like, you know, one day I want to own one of those. And so I started truck shopping in December of 2020 after I'd finally kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm ready to buy another diesel. And I knew that was what I wanted. And so I looked and I searched and I ended up finding this one actually not all that far away from home here. It was only about 20 minutes north of here, which is, it's pretty cool. It was cool to find one super close to home. I thought I was gonna have to travel all over the world, but man, it's really a dream come true, you know, to be able to pick up a truck that I had dreamed about as a young kid, and here it is. It's pretty awesome. We had, for those of you that don't know, I'm also involved in what I would say is a regional car club, Wisconsin Car Enthusiast Club. We're about 60,000 members on Facebook, host 2 shows a year, usually to the caliber of about 1,500 to 2,000 vehicles, pretty big shows. Previously, we had a 1,500 Silverado that looked very similar to this one. It's the same color, in fact. And we had done some trailering and towing our merch around and stuff to shows, and I've hauled some cars around and stuff. I tow a lot, not like every day, but I would say that I use my truck as a truck a lot more than most guys who own a truck do. So for me, when I looked at it, I didn't want to buy another 5.3. The 5.3 Silverados are great. They run awesome. My buddy had one with like 350,000 miles on it, but there is something about owning a diesel truck and having that torque instantly when you're on the highway and you need to pass somebody. And for those of you that have owned a diesel truck, you'll really understand. If you haven't owned a diesel truck, I would encourage you to get in one, because on the highway at 60 miles an hour, to be able to put that pedal down and just have the torque to pass someone immediately is fantastic. You know, in addition to that, I'd had my 6-liter and I sold it, and there is something about owning a diesel truck, and I've searched long and hard to try and explain what it is, right? Because I don't know, but there's something about owning a diesel truck fundamentally, like on a brisk Wisconsin morning. This morning it was 35 degrees here, and I walked outside and I rolled the key over and I waited for the glow plugs to cycle, and I fired it off and it fires up, and it kind of does that, you know, it runs kind of rough because it's cold, and like, man, I don't know if it's just the little kid in me that like likes diesel trucks or what, but it just does it for me. And so when it came time to look for a truck, I knew that I wanted a diesel, and so I settled on an LBZ. I shouldn't say I settled. I looked for an LBZ just because there's a lot of good options out there, especially in the budget that I wanted to play with. I looked at a couple LLYs, good trucks. You know, my buddy Ben just bought an LLY as well, but I really wanted an LBZ for all of the reasons that you want an LBZ. They run good, they're reliable, they make good power, they're just damn good trucks. And so when I found this one, I was ecstatic. I had to have it. So here is where the internal struggle in me lies, because part of me wants to throw this thing on like an 18-inch FTS lift because I know they make them for these trucks, and just ball hard for the gram. However, the other part of me says that I still need to daily drive this truck, and daily driving a SEMA truck is less than ideal. We've got some videos on that actually. But for me, I want it to look good. So when we go into this, the one thing that I want to make sure that I'm doing a super good job with is that I want to make sure it looks great and it's still functional, because it's got a B&W flip over ball in the bed. I want to be able to put a gooseneck, over the top of it, or I do haul a fair bit of cars around. I want to be able to hook up to a car trailer and not be looking like I'm from the Carolinas, right? I want to have all of that. So as we go into this, that's been the complete struggle for me, is finding something that is showable and also super functional. So it's gonna be tough, but I think we can do it. There's a couple of things that we've looked at already that I think are gonna be really great options. So I'm super excited. So this is a perfect segue, honestly. The day I bought this truck, I think I spent 3.5 hours on our gallery. And I don't say that because I work here. I say that because I literally spent like 3.5 hours on our gallery, to the point where I think I was scrolling through gallery ads at the supper table with the fam. So I looked at everything. I looked at level kits, I looked at 4-inch lifts, I looked at 6-inch lifts, I looked at 8-inch lifts, I looked at 12-inch lifts. And I searched the forums to figure out what guys were pulling trailers with. I searched entire setups. I've looked at pretty much everything for these trucks. And I think I settled on a super functional build. So I don't want to go big with it. I really want to keep it a 6-inch lift or less, but I want to go wide. I'm thinking 12 wides at a minimum, maybe a little wider. Obviously, I understand that that's going to make tires a challenge, just for not only finding a tire that fits in there, right? Because if you're 6-inch lift or less on these guys, you're really not getting anything bigger than 35s on there. And then if you go 12 to 14 wides, you get even smaller tire on there, and you've got a lot of trimming to do and stuff. So I think that's the direction I want to go. I'm a little nervous about trying to find a tire that's going to actually fit and be load rated for what we need. Because again, the goal is for this to be super practical. I want to be able to use this truck yet. So we'll see. It's going to be a very interesting build. But I am very excited to get into this one, because I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. One of the really interesting things about this build is about the same time I bought this, Junior bought his dually, and it's a little older, but it's a dually, right? So technically it should handle well or better, but mine's a little newer. By a little newer, I mean like 10 years newer. But single rear wheel, mine's only 3/4 ton, his is a 1 ton obviously, but Junior and I were talking the other day, and I think we're both kind of after the same goal with these. He wants to build the dually for a super just look good, but also functional tow rig. I kind of want to build this thing to be a really look good, but also super functional tow rig should it need to. So I think it'd be fun. We were actually talking about maybe going out to Atlantic City, out to the show out there, and maybe trailering a couple of trucks out there. So I think we're poised to have a really good time, but I also think that Junior isn't in for a bad time, because I think that I'm gonna do it better than he is. It's a newer truck. It's got a better interior. It may only be a 3/4 ton, but I got airbags in the back and stuff. So I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. I think it could be a perfect opportunity to maybe humble Junior a little bit. No, man, my biggest concern with this thing is time and rust, and usually in that order. I'm pretty concerned just once we get under there, you know, these old GM trucks with the torsion bar systems, they tend to rust and they don't always like to come apart very easily. The good news is that like center link, tie rod ends, those have all been done already. So that is out of the way, doesn't need to be taken care of. And in terms of the front end parts, we're replacing a lot of that anyway. So if we have to get creative with a torch and cut some stuff out, we can do that. But yeah, that's my big concern, is just trying to get all of it done while fighting the nice rust we have here in Wisconsin, and getting it all done in time. So.
What do you mean seized? It's loose.
No, the bolt is seized in the keyway, in the moon. The bolt is stuck in there. This one
out.
is the same. No, it does. It won't go anywhere. You can see how it's rounded off.